Hi, and welcome back to the Golf Pro Show. My name is Gary Shaw, also known as Gary Shaw Golf, and I'm joined by Liam Grehan, a touring PGA professional. And
Mm.
today we're speaking with Elan Darcy, who is also from our hometown and also known as Coach Elan online. And he's set up a very successful online coaching business.
Yeah, pretty cool to talk to Elan. We go back since early days junior golf in Mullingar, and he got really into golf early, and then fitness after he had some injuries, and that's what kind of led him down his fitness coaching path, I suppose. So it was kind of interesting for us to speak with someone that knows the golf industry, worked in pro shops, but now has gone down a completely different path of online coaching. So we were hoping to maybe get a different perspective in online coaching and perhaps apply it to some of our own coaching down the line.
Yeah, and there's some really good golden nuggets in this. So hope you enjoy, guys. Hello and welcome to the Golf Pro Show. My name is Gary Shaw, PGA professional. I'm joined as always with Liam Grehan, fellow PGA professional. Hey Liam.
How are
And
you?
how are you? And we've a very special guest today from the same town, Mullingar, in the middle of Ireland, Elan Darcy. And Elan might be better known as Coach Elan online and everywhere around the world. So Elan, if you want to give us an overview of who you are and what Coach Elan is and what all that means to you and to your
Yeah,
clients.
definitely sounds good. No, appreciate you having me on. So my name's Elan Darcy. My business name is Coach Elan. We basically help women with their health and fitness goals. So I'm a holistic health coach, and I have a team of four that works with me, and we basically help women with their sleep, fitness, strength, nutrition, self-care, mindset, and just feeling the best that they can, physically and mentally.
Amazing. And myself and Liam would know you from years ago if we taught the golf club in Mullingar. If you want to give us an idea, like where your journey in fitness began, I think it kind of crept in from golf, didn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I was thinking back on it earlier. So I always loved golf from a young age. Never really played it though. Like it was mostly pitch and putt and stuff like that.
Mm,
Yeah.
Always played like Tiger Woods PGA Tour. That was like
mm.
favorite game ever on PlayStation. So that kind of gave me the golf bug. And then started playing in June 2009 properly. So um one of the reasons that kind of pushed me to get into it, my best friend's dad, he passed away from cancer like a week or two after my birthday in May. And that kind of gave me a push to start playing golf because it was like an escape at the time.
Mm.
And so I
Mm.
started the same as anyone else, 28 handicap. Well, no handicap the first day, but
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Class three in Mullingar, whatever it was.
yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So started off anyway, no handicap, got 28, pretty much like day one. And then end of 2009 dropped from 29 or 28 to 20. 2010 dropped from 20 down to 11. That was probably my best year in terms of the biggest drop.
Mm.
2011 dropped from like 11 handicap down to 6, and that's when I had my first kind of big breakthrough because we were playing in the Finian Gary Memorial, and
Yeah.
I don't know what I shot that day. It was like I think two over or something like that. So it was one of the best
Mm.
rounds I've ever had. Managed to win that, thankfully. 2012 then dropped from 6 to 4. Um, Won the boys championship again, just pipped you by one shot.
Hit me by a shot. Yeah, I remember that too well.
Pretty funny. And then
Mm.
so that was really good. I mean, those are the only kind of wins that I can say I had
Mm.
this. So
Uh,
and then 2013 it started to go backwards because I wasn't really taking it as seriously anymore. I was
mm.
that's when I was more transitioning to what I do now, more like strength and fitness related stuff. So 2013
Mm.
didn't really play that much. I went from like 4.4 handicap and I started creeping up.
Mm.
4.8, 4.9. I had a few competitions in a row where weren't going great, and I was like, to be honest, I'm just not enjoying this anymore. And that's when I transitioned into, kind of training more and going to the gym and that kind of stuff. So
The other
Yeah.
thing, Elon, I'll say, it's impressive you did that in the old handicap system. The new handicap system's so different, you probably don't even know anymore. But like getting down to below five in the old system was really hard. Whereas now
Mm.
it's, like four would be not far off scratch in the new system. So it shows you,
really,
you like, oh, honestly, because you would have been it based in the new system. It shows what you have the potential to play to or to shoot nearly.
Okay.
So at your time, the amount of practice you were doing, you'd be down to scratch in the new system pretty well. But just find that one interesting. To caveat, the old system was much harder, so you were playing at a pretty high level.
Wow. Yeah, I've literally
Mm,
no idea how the new system works. So,
mm,
but that was one of the things that kind of made my mind up as well about golf because I was like,
mm,
okay, realistically, 4.4 was the pinnacle of my career. It's pretty
mm,
like average. But I knew that okay, if I wanted to win stuff, realistically, I need to be getting down to, +2, +3. A lot of the lads at
mm,
the time, I remember like looking at results like who was some of the best amateurs at the time, like Paul Cutler. I think
mm,
he was like +4, +5. Rory, obviously, everyone knows, he
Mm.
turned pro off ridiculous, like +5 something, or maybe close to +6,
mm.
insane high
Yes.
numbers. So
Desi Morgan was probably the lowest in Mullingar at the time.
yeah,
Maybe
exactly. Yeah, I
plus
think
two,
he.
plus
Yeah.
three at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was, very aware that like, okay, I'm not going to make anything of this really, but maybe I could become a PGA pro, and obviously both of you are PGA pros, which
Mm,
really cool now to see as well. So it's just interesting how like um, instead of pursuing that, I kind of lost interest in golf, and I looked at the prospectus for the PGA course in Birmingham, and it looks really cool. Um, or at the time, I thought it looked really cool, but then I was like, if I'm not interested in playing golf anymore, there's literally no point in doing it. So
yeah.
um, kind of gave up on that dream of becoming a golf pro, and then switched it more to my interest at the time, which was strength training and fitness and nutrition. And so I'm happy that I did that because it was the, kind of like the authentic choice for me at the time.
Mm.
So
And we kind of thought that that's why this would be such an interesting chat. You've been in the golf industry, like you obviously worked in the pro shop in Mullingar at the time. You've
yeah,
seen what that life of PGA Pro is.
Mm.
You've obviously done your degree and then got into coaching. So there's definitely a lot of parallels. So we wanted to kind of get into like how it how it is parallel and like what we could learn as pros to what you do. So do you want to tell us about your time in college and what you learned and how your career went from there?
yeah, definitely. So yeah, basically finished my Leaving Cert 2012. Didn't know what I wanted to do. I was at that point of golf where I wasn't sure. So I ended up taking a year off actually. Um, was working in Mullingar Golf Club, and then in 2013 I was working in New Forest.
Yeah, I was working with you there. Yeah.
Yeah, so good
Mm.
memories from there. And then started my
Oh,
degree in 2013, September. So I did a degree called Sports Management and Coaching in TUD. And
yeah.
so that's basically like a 3-year degree. And we just went through a lot of different things like psychology, anatomy, physiology, nutrition, personal training, strength coaching, exercise science, all that kind of stuff. So gave me a good, kind of baseline understanding for a lot of things. And I think it was around second year in college that I kind of figured out what I wanted to do because I'd always been asking myself like, what would I actually like to do after I finish this degree? And every time I asked myself that, I came up with the answer of like, I have no idea.
Mm.
So it took a
Wow.
while, but then yeah, it was around like towards the end of second year. I was like, I actually really enjoy seeing other people do well. And that was something that I liked about when I played golf as well. Like I don't know, if I was at the driving range or at the chipping green or something, and I was there with one of the lads, I always enjoyed being like, seeing them improve.
Mm.
I never like I enjoy competing against people as well, but I like to see other people improve as well. So I kind of figured out that like, yeah, maybe personal training would be something good because I love everything to do with strength training and really enjoy that. So maybe that could be something that I explore. So that's kind of where I went after finishing my degree into exploring that side of things.
Brilliant. So did you went
Wow.
working in a gym for a little while after college? How did your like coaching career evolve
Yeah.
over them times?
Yeah, it was a very gradual and probably rough transition. So
Mm.
I finished my degree and then it was like, okay, what the hell do I do now? My degree is
Mm.
over, so I have to make something of this.
Mm.
I was basically, working in the college gym at the time, not coaching anybody, just opening, closing, sweeping the floor,
Mm.
basic stuff.
Mm.
Um, was working in Elvery's as well. Um, so I was working those two jobs, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to set up my own coaching business or whatever, and literally had no clue of how to do that, what to do. So I spent several months just figuring out basic stuff like how do I register? How do I even set up a business? I soon
Mm.
found out you have to go to company's registrations office. You have to set it up that way. But I was like basically just figuring out as I went along,
Mm.
going on to Google, how do I set up a business in Ireland?
Yeah.
You know, basic stuff like this. And so yeah, anyway, started to figure it out. And in February, I think of 2017, I was at a point where I was like, okay, I'm fed up of working at Elvery's. I need to like quit there as soon as possible. So remember I went on to like Instagram and I just looked up all the different gyms that were around Dublin. I was living in Blanchardstown at the time, and I messaged a few of them. Didn't hear much back from many people, but one person in particular who was running the gym, he actually got back to me and he was like, come in and we can have a chat. And so I'll always be really grateful to him because he gave me my start with personal training. He was running a gym on Leeson Street, so I started working there March 2017, and yeah, after a couple of months, started to build up my client base a bit. Because the way that was at the time, he was basically like running ads and stuff, and he'd get interested people. I'd have to do the consultation with them, and then if I signed them up, they'd become a client of
Mm.
mine. Obviously, I'd pay him a percentage because it was technically still his client. So yeah, just did it that way. Then after a couple of months working in the gym, ended up going into Elvery's and handed in my notice.
Mm.
So that was a great feeling.
Mm.
I'm sure it was.
Mm.
Yeah, so kind of started from there really, like May 2017. That's when I quit all the other jobs, just went full in on personal training and was working with him for a couple of years, but then we kind of started to split apart a bit, had our own kind of differences in how we did things. So I
Mm.
decided to move to a different, just basically go to a different gym, but I was renting the gym then. So
Mm.
I was 100% on my own then because I was responsible for finding new clients, building my business, as well as paying rent for this gym as well. So
Oh.
Mm.
yeah, it was kind of stepping stones from there.
Mm. I'm sure it was some learning curve for you at the time, though, hugely so. Like, and then kind of coming up to the pandemic, it had to kind of migrate a bit as well, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I'll just say as well, like one of the huge mistakes that I made in those first 2 years between 2017 and 2019, I literally got completely burnt out because,
Wow.
there was many weeks where I was working like 60 to 80 hours a week. I'd like, because at the time I had the completely wrong mindset of like, okay, I need to just like grind and hustle as much as possible.
Mm.
So I'd be like
Right.
getting up at 5 a.m. or 5:30 and then, trying to do as many sessions as I can every day and then do my own training and then working on stuff afterwards and like not going to not even going home to like 9, 10 p.m. And just doing that.
Mm.
Rinse and repeat.
Yeah, so I was completely burnt out after a year and a half of that. So that,
Wow.
it was
Yeah.
it was those mistakes that actually allowed me to like, okay, like something has to change here. So I actually
Was there a
started,
turning point there? Sorry, was there a turning point there where you realized, okay, that's enough of that, or what
yeah,
did burnout feel like? Was it
pretty shit to be honest.
right?
Yeah, my mental health
Yeah.
in the bin, basically. It's like
Right.
my whole life revolved around work or
Yeah.
how much money I was trying to make that month or, how many
Okay.
people I was trying to sign up. Just the wrong way to go about it.
Mm.
Okay.
So a couple of turning points really. The first one was instead of one-to-one personal training, I switched it to a group model. So
Wow.
instead of being one-to-one with someone or multiple people every day, I'd, work with, let's say, a group of four people. So that bought me back a whole lot of time. Because there was many days before when I was working in that gym, some days I was literally doing like 12 or 13 sessions
Wow.
with different people, and they're like
Mm.
45-minute long sessions with
Yeah.
whatever 10-minute break, 15 minutes in between. So it was just too much. So then when I changed to the group model, it worked a lot better because I could run three group classes a day with 12 people instead of 12 individual sessions a day.
Mm.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
the other thing was then because I moved from that gym to doing my own thing, I was a lot happier because I could just work off my own schedule, wasn't in that workaholic mode anymore. I was
Mm.
starting to become a bit more balanced. So yeah, some big learning curves along the way for sure. Um,
Yeah, that's good.
but yeah, to get back to your original question, I kind of blabbed on a bit there.
No, it's interesting.
Mhm.
Go on ahead, yeah.
Yeah, it's for the juices, isn't it?
Yeah, so moving on, like then obviously the pandemic hit in 2020, right? So
Mm.
I was lucky. I'd already started transitioning online in like September of 2019. I
Mm.
joined a mastermind at the time, and um the guy that ran that mastermind is basically just teaching people how to transition your business online. So I kind of already
Wow.
started that.
Mm.
And then when the pandemic hit, I was obviously forced to transition.
Yeah,
So it was pretty rough going, to be honest. Like I was looking back at some of my financials from that year, and I kind of got to the point between like March 2020 to maybe like November 2020. I could have easily quit with
mm.
those months. Like it was really bad because I actually wasn't set up well to transition on.
Mm. I doubt many were, so you did well to just
Oh,
on your feet just get it done, you know. I think it was probably
yeah.
toughest times that time for self-employed as well. Like everyone else had COVID payments and stuff. I don't think it was as good for self-employed.
Yeah,
Mm.
difficult for sure. I know a lot of people who did very well during COVID, but it's because they had the right model at the time.
Okay.
Um, and I was focusing on the wrong thing basically. So the big mistake that I made was like I was focusing on doing a 28-day challenge. So I had people coming in
Mm.
to do a 28-day kind of program, but
Mm.
big learning curve was that like now I only work with people for a minimum of 4 months, but most of the time 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
I only focus on long-term programs now.
Mm.
So
Wow.
I gradually started to transition that in 2021. It started to pick back up a lot better because I was like, okay, people were joining the 28-day program and then leaving afterwards. And I was like, there's something wrong here. It's like
Mm.
Mm.
I'm attracting the type of people that want a quick fix, and that's not the type of person I want to work with. I want to work with someone who wants to make a
Yeah.
change over the next 6 to 12 months, and they're actually going to stick with the changes they make, and they're serious about longevity and looking back in 20 years and being like, oh yeah, I'm still doing the same things, and
Brilliant.
so that was kind of the big learning curve through that.
What made you change or like even identify that that's how you wanted to coach? Because like I see that in the golf industry, a lot of people are coming for a one-off lesson to fix their slice, but they're not
Yeah.
really trying to get better over time, and that's kind of a frustrating thing
Mm.
from a golf coach's perspective. It's like you're not working towards a goal apart from just stop slicing it, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if I think of it in golf terms, it's like if someone is slicing it the whole time with their 21 handicap, the
Mm.
question could be, okay, do you want to fix your slice or do you want to get down to like a 5 handicap? Do you want to actually get good?
Mm.
You know?
Yeah,
You know, and then if some people will just want to fix the slice and like, okay, that's fine. But then there will be a good few people who are like, okay, like, yeah, my goal is that I would actually like to play off 5 or I would like to be a single figure player. And then it's that type of person like, okay, that's perfect because if you're a 15 now and you want to be a 9, like that that's not going to happen in the next week. Like
no,
this has
no
to
chance.
be
Yeah.
realistically, it has
Mm.
to be at least a 12-month process. So
Mm.
if you're going to stick with me, like this is how long it's going to take, and I need you to commit to that.
Mm.
Mm.
So how did you
Mm.
attract the right clientele then? How did you show that this is what you're offering and like getting the right people involved? Because most people know their club professional, they go for a quick fix versus like
Yeah.
just you know what I mean, like attracting the right kind of client that you're offering. This is a pro to get better over time versus just a one-off fix.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is just I just shifted the message that I kind of put out there on social media and stuff. So
Mm.
instead of talking about things like so for me in the fitness industry, instead of talking about stuff like, lose 10 pounds in
Mm.
10 days, or
Mm.
do this 28-day challenge, or 8-week summer program. Instead of talking about
Mm.
short-term stuff like that, I shift all of the content that I put up everywhere, my podcasts, videos, emails, the whole lot. Now I only focus on stuff that's like, could be like, here's results that my client got over the last 9 months, or
Mm.
um, here's, 3 simple changes that you can make with your sleep that'll give you good energy for years to come. Or, so
Mm.
the whole message is all based around longevity and making a sustainable change, and incorporating things into your weekly schedule that you're actually going to stick with. So another simple example could be like, training, going to the gym 2 times a week, or doing a home workout twice a week, every week,
Mm.
and it just becomes part of your life. So I think it was a shift in how I put stuff out there, basically.
Brilliant.
I started to attract people who kind of resonate with that.
Mm. I think it's
So
a much healthier way of doing it, and I think in obviously what you're doing in holistic health coaching, and like that's going to make a huge difference to someone's life. Ongoing. It's brilliant, and hopefully we can do the same with someone's golf. So,
yeah,
Holistic goal.
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, like, if to be honest, if I was a PGA professional, knowing what I
Yeah.
know now, I'd create a program that's like, I don't know what you call it, like the single figure handicap program, or you can come up with
Mm.
whatever name, and
Yeah.
it would
Mm.
literally be like a 12-month long program. So I'd probably create something like that. And then anyone maybe that I know, or anyone that maybe is interested in working with me as a PGA professional, I'd be like, I have this program, it's 12 months long, and the
Mm.
bonus that will get you from whatever your handicap is now, we'll try and take 5 shots off it or something.
Yeah.
And if you're putting a program out there like that, um, then people who are interested in that are just gonna come towards it. And
Mm.
we want a quick fix or not, because they're like, oh, that's 12 months. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
But that's fine, because you don't want those
Mm.
anyway.
Mm. It's a
Mm.
project more than just a one-off lesson. They're working towards something. That's great.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like, I mean, look at anybody who's good at golf, literally anybody. Like, I'd be pretty confident saying almost nobody has got there without a coach.
A few
Yeah.
have, but not many. Like, and
Yeah,
not
it's pretty
many do
rare.
it in that mindset of quick fixes either. They have to be more open to a longer
Yeah.
term, like holistic approach. That's the other thing why I wanted to ask you about like your online business. I find like
Mm.
I've tried a small bit of online coaching. I've kind of took myself away from coaching to focus on playing more. But now that I'm traveling, I'm playing on hopefully Sunshine Tour now. Hopefully, I get my card at the start of April. But I'll be basing myself in South Africa and trying to potentially like earn a bit more money, maybe doing some online coaching. But it's I don't want to be attracting the quick fix player. How do you find like, or what would you say, looking from your perspective, looking at a golf pro, how would we look at doing an online coaching versus just in person and making it real, holistic, not just quick fixes or like even the biggest problem I see is like you can't see ball flight on the video when people send it to you on Skillet. So it's like,
Yeah.
Mm.
how would you look at that? What would you see as like the flaws in the current online golf coaching world?
Definitely more challenging. Obviously, you want to be able to see I suppose the ideal situation would that you'd have someone that's using a TrackMan, right? Or
Mm,
some type of equipment that you can get stats from. So then at least
yeah.
Mm.
feedback, that like, okay, this was your spin rate, or this was your,
Mm,
whatever. Um, so definitely having some way to get the data is really important, because for me, when we work with people, it's almost the exact same as being in a gym doing personal training.
mm,
The only difference is we have a screen between each other. If I'm working
yeah.
with someone, um, we're still doing one-to-one personal training. It's just I'm here in my office / sitting room, and
Mm,
they're at home in their
Yeah.
whatever bedroom or sitting room, and I'm still walking them through the workout.
yeah.
Walk them through all the stretches, walk them through all the movements. Like, I'd never. like literally everyone that I've ever worked with in the gym, I've never once had to physically touch somebody to be like, this is a better position to be in, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
It's unprofessional in my industry anyway to touch someone physically. You do not need to
Mm,
do that. If you do, like it's probably a sign that you're not a great coach. You can just tell
mm,
Mm.
somebody, give them a cue, like if they're doing a deadlift, you know, you don't have to touch them, be like, oh, get into this position. You can just say, push your
Mm.
hips back, or you know,
mm,
lift your head up a bit, like keep your eyes up.
mm.
Simple cues like that, you know.
Brilliant.
So that's why, like,
Mm.
when we work with people via video call, people still get really good results because we can just tell them what to do. We can show them. We don't have to physically touch anyone, you know. So it's
Mm,
the way that
Yeah.
in-person element from it, you know.
Would you visually do it yourself in front of them so they can see it, and then you find that
Yeah,
effective? Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I'd literally demonstrate it. They can see it. If they get it wrong, I can like, okay, just push your hips back a little bit, or put your weight
Mm.
more over the middle of your foot, or simple cues like that, you know. So it would kind of be the same for golf as well,
very
right?
much so.
Like you don't really need to touch somebody. Obviously, if someone's maybe in their backswing, you know, if you're in person with them, maybe you could lift the club up or whatever. But you
Mm.
don't actually need to do it because you could just tell them like, okay, just bring your, you know, lift your elbow up a little bit higher, or you know,
Mm,
Yeah.
pivot a bit more to the right or something. So it would be the same thing
mm,
when you're coaching someone, let's say for swing coaching or something, you can still see what they look like, what position they're in, and you can just give them cues to get them into whatever, I don't know, more shallow angle of attack, or, you know,
Mm.
whatever
mm.
your position you're trying to get them
Mm.
into. So, um, yeah, I think a lot of it depends on how good of a coach you are, you know, like
Yeah.
if you know, if you're a good player yourself and you know what positions to get into, you're going to be able to describe fairly easily, you know, with a couple of words like how to get into that position.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
So that's probably a big part of it.
What does your first assessment look like? That's probably the thing that would help set up like for a professional golfer their online coaching. Like the first assessment where like I know you were saying about getting TrackMan data, but
Yeah.
even say like the info you gather, like say for a golf pro, there's so much more than just the TrackMan stuff. Like it's what they do on the golf course. It's like what shots do they struggle with, their mental game, all of that stuff. So I think the assessment is pretty important, and you obviously could do that over Zoom or something. But like, what do you look for in your assessments at the start?
Yeah, it's pretty simple actually. So I'll literally send somebody a questionnaire. The questionnaire is pretty detailed. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to figure out, and it'll literally be everything like, you know, what foods you like, what foods you not like, what allergies do you
Mm.
have, what supplements are you using, what's your training history, what exercises do you like, what exercises do you not like, loads of questions like that, you
Mm,
know, very detailed. And then the first session that we'd have with somebody would be a screening session. And
mm,
either myself or Finn, who's my head coach, we'd walk somebody through a session from start to finish. So we literally do lots of easy stretches and movements just to get an idea of like how things are feeling, if you've got any pain somewhere, stiffness, tightness, you know. So we'll go through lots of different movements, you know, like touch your toes, see how your squat is, you know, see if you can sit on the floor with your legs crossed, you know, loads of different flexibility kind of
Mm.
movements like that. And then from that 30-minute session, we'll then have a really good idea of like, okay, for Mary, she can do, you know, all of these movements, but she actually gets a lot of knee pain on her right knee in a squat. So instead of doing squats in future, we're going to focus on knee rehab. And then maybe instead of squats, we're going to focus on, let's say, I don't know, a knee extension as an alternative
Mm.
to the squat.
mm.
So she's
Yeah.
still rehabbing the knee injury while she's getting stronger in all the places that she doesn't have pain. So that's what it would look like for me. But then as a golf coach, what you would do is probably like the questionnaire would be related to the questions that you want to ask, you know. So it's like
Mm,
all those details, you know. Um, give me all your yardages for all of your clubs from,
mm.
you know, 60-degree wedge all the way down to driver.
Mm.
And on whatever kind of other, you know, kind of things that you're looking for. So you'd probably build a questionnaire around that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
the initial screening session with someone would probably be something similar, you know, have a Zoom call, have them maybe out of the golf course or driving range or something, and they literally set up their phone. Phone would be easiest. They're not going to bring their laptop with them.
Mm.
And then literally just get them to set it up at an angle where you can watch them swing. And obviously, if they had TrackMan or I think there's another one,
So, oh,
Flight.
there's loads of them now. There's yeah. In the time since you
Yeah.
kind of stopped playing, there's loads of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then yeah, obviously, if you had some type of tracker like TrackMan, you'd be able to get data. Then you could be a bit more in depth with it, you know.
Mm, brilliant.
So lots of ways of doing it, you know. But I think the basic stuff works. Like if you think about it, how many people actually know their yardages properly?
Oh,
Oh,
very
so
few.
few.
Very
So
few.
few.
Yeah, that's what I was even thinking when you said that. I was like, we'd need to get them in on a launch monitor to learn that stuff in the first place to give you the info. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
exactly.
found in
Um,
actually let you go, Gary. Sorry.
I was just going to ask, you seem to have found quite a niche there with women, coaching and holistic and all that. What was your journey towards that sharp niche like? Was it Elan Fit or something years ago before it
Yeah.
was Coach Elan? Yeah, something
Par-
a bit different.
one of many mistakes I made.
That's,
Yeah, when I was trying to come up with a business name, I had no clue. So yeah, I went with Elan Fit, but I've switched it to
yeah,
Coach Elan over the last, whatever, 5 or 6 years. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, the transition, of course, when I started training people, I was just working with whoever I could work with, men and women of all ages, literally
yeah. Mm.
ranging from 18 up to 60 something. But then, so the more
Oh,
people that I worked with, um, there was kind of three main things that really pushed me to work with women specifically. So the first one is, um, I realized from the degree that I did that pretty much nearly all of the studies that are done when it comes to like exercise science and supplements and strength and stuff like that, nearly all the studies that are done on men that are usually between like 18 to 25.
Right.
wow.
So a lot of the data out there in studies that you see published, even that recommend stuff for women, are actually done on men, which makes no sense at all, right? It's
Uh-huh.
no sense. So there's a lot of poor information basically out there of like what works well for women, especially when it comes to stuff like perimenopause and menstrual cycle and menopause and stuff like that. So that was stuff that I was always, really interested in learning more of. How can you actually help female clients get the best results possible? The other thing was when I was growing up, my mom, my granny, my auntie, I was very, very close to them, but I seen how they suffered with a lot of different things, like chronic migraines and lower back pain and knee pain and lots of different things like that. So that kind of impacted me from a young age. And I was like, I wish I was able to help them with their issues,
Mm,
you know.
mm,
Um,
Okay.
and then as well, I honestly just enjoy working with women more than men because as I'm sure you can relate to, a lot of men have massive egos.
oh yeah.
So
Mm.
not all men, of course, but a lot of men tend to have massive egos, and as a result of that,
Right.
makes it difficult to work. I've had some guys that I've worked with before, and they're amazing. Um, but yeah, just generally speaking, they can have bigger egos. So women,
Mm,
as a result, are tend to be easier to work with. Obviously, some women can have massive egos as well, for sure, but in
Yeah.
general, just easier to work with. So those are kind
mm,
of the three kind of main things, I suppose, that kind of push me to specifically, become like what I've branded myself now as like a holistic health coach for women, and that obviously happened over, that I didn't specifically start to specialize until like I'd say 2020, 2022. So it took about 5 or 6 years to kind of get to that point.
I was going to say, just on the nutrition and sleep, you seem to mention that quite a lot
Yeah.
in just on LinkedIn and stuff like that. Do you find they're completely not looked at by other coaches? Is that a gap you've seen or something people need to look at more?
Yeah, I think just a lot of people, when they want to see differences in how they feel or get fitter, stronger, all they think about is like, oh, what workouts am I doing?
mm,
Mm.
Which is fair enough to think of, to think about it that way. But the more I go into stuff, the more I realize that like everything's interconnected together, right?
Mm.
So like even think back to last time you had 4 hours sleep. Like, did you have your
Gary does that all the time.
best? Like think
Yeah,
back
go on.
to last time you had 4 hours sleep or 5 hours, whatever. Like, how did you feel
Yeah,
the next day? Did you have your best golf round ever, lowest score, or were you kind of like dragging yourself through the day?
yeah.
Oh, you're in
Well,
bits.
yeah.
Gary manages to power through. I know,
It's
when I
it's
lived with
gonna
Gary,
be
it was.
it's gonna be a struggle. Yeah, it's gonna be a struggle in
Mm,
4 hours. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
remember one time in the Barton Shield years ago, Albert Lee was the manager, and I was working in the Park Hotel, and I couldn't get the night off. We were doing a wedding, and we finished at 5 a.m. We had to meet at 7 a.m. in
no.
Mullingar and go to play a match, and we actually won the match, playing foursomes. Thank God, it's only hitting half the shots. But yeah, no sleep, zero. But anyway, we won't go into that.
That's pretty funny. So yeah,
Yeah,
you might be able to get away with it sometimes, but in general,
yeah,
especially when it comes to your energy, fitness, strength,
yeah.
uh, hunger, cravings, they're all deeply impacted by how much sleep that you get. Um, and so
Mm.
if you can optimize your sleep and have way more energy, then you're going to have way more fitness, strength, energy, less cravings, less hunger, all those things, you know. So it's just a very simple thing. Like we're all in control. Well, unless you have kids, of course, it's difficult. But the majority of us who don't have kids and whatever else, we're in control of managing our sleep schedule and stuff like that. So it's just a very simple thing that, you know, if you literally go to bed a bit earlier, supplement with some magnesium or some ashwagandha, um, and then get a full night's sleep, you're going to be performing at much higher level the next day, you know. And it's the same thing with your food, you know, like if you eat terribly all the time and you're literally just eating lots of carbs all day long, your energy is just going to be up and down and all around the place, you know. So yeah, it can just make a massive difference. You know, it's basic stuff, but if you do it right, it can give you that extra edge, you know.
mm. So like even recovery then, Elan, like sleep for recovery, like you're obviously trying to get people training and training hard, like they're going to have muscle soreness and like actually make the gains from the training they're doing with you. They need to get adequate sleep and nutrition.
Yeah, for sure. Like you don't even have to do, there's a lot of things that you can do for recovery, but honestly, the number one thing is just sleep more.
Mm,
You know, because
Wow.
most like at this point I've worked with over 500 people and like nearly all of them were at a point where they're not sleeping or getting the most out of it, you know. So
mm,
it's an easy one to look at is like if you wake up in the morning and you have like 8 or 9 out of 10 energy, then
mm,
you know for sure you're getting enough sleep, you know. So
Mhm.
that would look differently. Some people they can actually get 6 hours sleep and have 9 out of 10 energy. Some people are just built that way.
mm,
Yeah,
For me though, if I get 8 hours sleep or more, I'll have 9 out of 10 energy, 10 out of 10 energy. I'll feel amazing. If I
mm,
get 6 hours, I'll not feel good at all. I could have like 6 out of 10 energy.
mm.
So it's kind of different for everyone, but honestly, if you just improve your sleep, that's going to massively improve recovery
yeah,
for everything. Especially, you know, if you are training to get stronger, more flexible to improve your golf. Um, Obviously, you know, more sleep is going to help that as well as, you know, have better focus on the course, which means an extra 1 or 2 shots you could take off the round, you know.
Absolutely. I kind of find like myself, I've been training a bit more now, bit of muscle soreness. My practices wasn't great today because like I couldn't feel my arms as much because I've
Okay.
been going heavier. So anything would you recommend like the fact I'm so sore today, I probably didn't get enough protein. I did sleep 8.5 hours nearly last night, so I got plenty of sleep, but
Nice.
I'm still sore today. Like what would you recommend for recovery? Is it eating more protein and stretching, massage? What would you kind of suggest?
Yeah. So in terms of recovery, anyway, sleep is always going to be number one, just
Mm,
optimizing that. But then in terms of the training that you're doing as well, obviously the goal is the most important goal is that you want to improve your golf game,
mm,
not to get as big muscles as possible.
mm.
Maybe that's the secondary goal, right? But improving golf is the most important thing.
Mm,
And you want to think like, okay, how much do I actually need to be doing in the gym, you know? Like
Mm,
you probably don't need to be pushing it really hard. A lot of people will get really good results training at like 70, 80%, not at 100%,
mm,
you know? So that's kind of a simple mistake that a lot of people make. They think like, okay, I'm in the gym, I have to go 100%. It's like
mm,
you don't. If you, here's a simple example, right? If you, let's say, are doing push-ups and you know for sure 10 push-ups is the most that you could do on a good day,
mm.
then most of the time you go into the gym, you should probably be aiming to do sets of like 6 to 8 reps.
Okay.
You're not doing every set trying to do 10 reps because that's like
Yeah.
your limit. So if
Mm,
you're doing like, 4 to 5 sets of 6 to 8 reps, then that's going to be manageable. So you might feel a bit sore the next day, but you're not in absolute
mm.
loss where you can.
Yeah.
Your swing feels all off because your
Mm,
arm,
mm.
feel right. So that's where the training comes into it specifically. You want to figure out, what's going to be the best approach for you. And that's so unique to each person, because how much you train Gary, how much I train, how much you train Liam is all going to be different based off a lot of different factors.
Mm,
And it's like you could have a plan specifically. Let's say the goal was to go in today and do 10 push-ups, but maybe last night you only got 3 hours sleep. So
mm,
you have to change it then to more of a
mm,
recovery-based session where it's like, okay, the goal was to do 10, but I'm in bits today, so recovery is going to be sets of 3 to 5 on push-ups today instead of sets of 10.
right.
So it's kind of like adapting your schedule based off how you feel and
Mm, mm,
what you've been doing previously and stuff like that. So there is quite a kind of a lot of detail that gets
mm.
but to be honest, it sounds like there's a lot in it, but that's something you kind of just learn as you go. The
Yeah.
same about golf. Like
Mm,
you get to the point with golf where it's like you don't even need to really think about it anymore. You just know, like,
mm.
okay, pitching wedge, 150, you know, throw the grass up, downhill.
That's a good wedge.
Elan's stronger than we are, Gary.
Bloody hell.
Whatever your averages are.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I mean? It's like you get all those
Mm.
things nailed down,
Mm,
and
yeah.
like it's part of your subconscious after a while.
Yeah.
Like you can just tell straight away with how much the wind is, how much downhill it is, what club you need to
Mm.
use, and you'll know in your mind like, okay, I'll be able to get the ball within like 5 to 8 yards of the hole.
Mm,
Yeah.
So it's the same
yeah.
with your sleep, with your training. Like most of the time I go to the gym, I can just automatically tell how I'm feeling within like the first 5 minutes. And then I'll make my decision based off whether I'm going to push it harder or take it easier that day.
Okay. I like that because it keeps you consistent. Your training, it's a habit. You don't. I found my problem in the past has been like falling out of the habit, and then I haven't trained for a couple of weeks and I have a tournament coming up. I need to practice for that tournament more than I need to go to the gym, and
Yeah.
that's where I've kind of been bad in the past. That's what I'm trying to get better at and learning from at the minute. So I like the way you're adjusting it there for sure.
Yeah, it's a word in strength training called periodization. And so you might have heard it before, but
Mm,
like athletes will follow cycles. So Olympic athletes will go through what's called an Olympic cycle, which is 4 years
mm,
long. And
yeah.
within those 4 years, they
Wow.
have different periods within those 4 years where they focus on different things. So obviously, if you get, let's say you have a really important competition coming up in 4 weeks,
Mm,
realistically, your time is going to be best spent on what's going to help you get the lowest scores on that competition day. And that's
yeah.
not going to be in the gym bicep curling as much as possible. It's going to
I'd
be
look good though.
yeah, so it's going to be time spent on the course, and the gym work you want to be doing is maintaining your strength and
Mm,
still working on your flexibility so that you feel good, you don't have any pain, so that when
mm,
you go out on the course, you're swinging and at 100% and you feel great.
mm,
So that's how things would start to change that um if I was like a week or two out from a competition, from a golf competition, I wouldn't be doing any hard workouts. It'd all be recovery based. So I'd be going in
mm,
with the intention of like, okay, every exercise I do today, I'm finishing that exercise when it feels like about a 5 out of 10 difficulty.
okay.
Wow.
So you can use that subjective score,
Yeah.
to kind of guide you through it.
That's great coaching. That's brilliant.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Simple
Do
one.
you have any mentors, Elan? Is there anyone like you aspire towards, or through the years even, or now, or
Yeah,
anything like that?
I've always aspired to be like Liam and start winning serious competitions, and aspire to be like you, Gary, and win the Barton Shield.
Mm.
But no, seriously, I have had a bunch of different mentors,
Yeah.
like 2018. Um, so I realized pretty quickly, I was going to have to reinvest in myself and work with people to try and get to where I wanted to be business wise. So
Mm.
2018, I hired my first coach. Um, that was learning about like Facebook advertising and setting up like a group model. Like I said earlier, I transitioned from one-to-one personal training to group. So this guy
Yeah.
in particular was specializing in that. Then the following year, worked with another guy who was running a mastermind specifically about transitioning your business online. Then
Yeah.
2022, invested a good bit with another guy, and he was more focused on scaling your business through LinkedIn. Hence why I use LinkedIn quite a lot now.
Mm.
That had some big breakthroughs from working with him and his team. And then was it last year or the year before? I joined another mastermind. So I've had like four business coaches like over the last like 5 or 6 years, and I've invested more than like 20 grand with those four,
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah.
which seems like a lot, and it is. But to be honest, like the way I look at it is the best investment I'll ever make will be the investment I make in my own skills and
Mm.
learning things. So 20K is a lot, but I'm delighted I have done it because I've made it back, you know, a couple of times over at least. So
Yeah.
same thing for a coach. It's like it just makes so much sense. If I'm playing off 20 handicap and Gary, you're a pro, why would I
Mm.
waste the next 3 or 4 years trying to get down to a 10 when I could go and work with you and you'd probably get me from a 20 to a 10 maybe in like 1 year instead of 4 years.
Mm. Yeah.
Like
Mm.
all I have to do is trade my money for your time, and then you give me the skills so I can improve to get to whatever, winning my Sunday turkey competition or whatever it is.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's interesting, and we're always the clock is turning, or the mind is thinking about, how we can apply it into golf. But just one thing, um, your daily schedule now, like compared to when you were grinding and grinding and grinding, you had the burnout, like how many hours do you put into it now? Is it completely online? Do you do weekends? How much sleep are you getting? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and before I jump into that as well, if you have some specific things you're thinking of golf wise, like definitely ask them because it'd be good to go into that. I'm happy to share lots of ideas.
Mm.
But yeah, working weekends, absolutely not. No way. Terrible
Mm.
idea.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
I don't know about you, but I'm like, no way. Life is too short. I haven't worked weekends since like I don't know, 2017 or something like that.
Mm.
Uh,
Wow.
Mm.
so so now I'm lucky I'm in a slightly better position now. Um, I started to like grow out a bit more of a team back in like 2022. Up until
Mm.
that point, I was just doing everything myself, which is another big mistake. So now I have like have Finn, who's my head coach. I have Karen, she's my virtual assistant. I have a social media manager, and I have Robbie, who came on recently, and he's teaching like yoga, meditation, and stuff like that. Um,
Wow.
so now I can kind of delegate things a little bit more. And
Mm.
actually, this year, I made a promise to myself that I'm going to take every Tuesday off for just like personal or business growth. So I work a 4 day work week now, like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Wow.
But I'm still doing at least 10 hours on all those days.
Yeah. Yeah. You're still
Uh,
doing a 40-hour week, but it's 4 days. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes more. Like there'll be a lot of days where I'll literally just be here on the computer. Like on Monday, I think I started at like 9 a.m. and then I finished at like 9:30 p.m. So
Mm.
put in a
Mm.
solid like it's like being honest, it was probably a solid 8 or 9 hours of actual work, and took a few
Mm.
breaks
Mm.
here and there. But
Few
yeah,
cups of tea, yeah.
yeah, a nap for sure.
Yeah.
Nap is like absolutely.
Sleep's important.
Yeah, I
Practice
literally
what you preach, Elan.
100%
Yeah.
have a nap like nearly every day, because I usually take off between like 2 and 4 p.m. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, sleep is high on my agenda. Like the way that I do things, like I'd never recommend someone to do something if I don't actively do
Mm.
it myself, because I'd
Mm.
feel like a fraud, So
Mm.
Mm.
all I do all that stuff myself, and so yeah, sleep is high on my agenda, and then
Yeah.
weekends and just structuring the business around my life instead of the other way around, basically.
Brilliant.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, just as a coach, like I set up my own hours here in London, and weekends are busy. Like people are off and they want lessons, and it's very tempting to put yourself in there on a Saturday and a Sunday if you can. And now I'm trying to like move slightly away from that and give myself a bit of a life outside coaching, because like your social life does just dwindle into oblivion. Like it can really take away from other things. Like the old thing in life coaching is when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So and always try balance the two. Remember what you're saying no to. And then that Tuesday thing is really interesting as well. Like the old saying, work on your business rather than in your business all the time
Yeah,
as an owner or CEO. So you don't just get lost in the work itself. You take a
Mm.
step back, have a look at it from above, and see where you could improve or get more efficient and all that kind of stuff.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love those. Those are That quote is one of my favorites. That's something I mentioned to a lot of people. So
yeah,
yeah, it's just like the whole point of setting up a business in the first place, or becoming a coach,
mm,
is to be able to live life on your own terms.
Mm.
So why would you give away, if you want to go out on a Saturday night and meet up with your friends, that's an
yeah,
important part of your life. And if if people want to work with you and they're going to be good clients, they're going to work with you when it works for you. So
Mm.
maybe if you are not available at the weekend, why can't they book in with you on the evening time after work, or something like that.
Mm.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so that's something that I found out as well, that once I stopped doing weekends and stuff like that, I
mm,
stopped attracting those kind of people as well. You know, the people that would expect me to whatever work after 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. or work in the weekends is like, just don't do that.
Mm.
okay. Do you find it hard to say no, or you're getting pretty good at that? Just saying,
Um,
that's not what I do.
yeah, that's been a long process. So you
Yeah.
you probably have gone through it in life coaching as well, of like just understanding your boundaries better,
Mm, mm,
and understanding how you respond as well. So there's like the four F's, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. They're the four most common ways that people tend to respond. So if
mm,
I'm in a really stressful situation, my go-to before was either like run away, or fawn, which is like basically say whatever you need to try and get out of the situation. So
ah,
that's where the poor boundaries kind of comes into it as well. But over the last few years, I've definitely got a lot better at saying no, and just being like, I'm just very upfront with everyone now. It's like, this is what I do, this is what I can help you with. If we're not the right fit,
mm,
look, no worries. I can refer you to someone else. And
yeah.
at the end of the day, my goal is that I want to try and help somebody else get the best results possible. So if that's with
Mm.
me, great. If it's with someone else, great also.
Yeah.
No, no worries.
Yeah. Takes a lot of confidence and belief that, someone will come and fill that slot, if you're taking away the weekend and all that. It can be
Yeah,
scary at the start, but believe that it will work out, like,
no, for
stick to your
sure.
vision.
100%. The fear is always there, like
Mm.
always. But it's like if you just give someone the space that they need, like some people are going to be a great fit to work with you and other people won't, and that's just
Mm,
how it is. So I've worked to
yeah.
it enough people at this point to realize that, like, you know, it'll work out if it's going to work out, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, it's no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Is there any reason you chose 16 weeks? Is that your general standard package or?
Yeah, so the way that I kind of run the programs at the moment is like, if someone wants to work with me, or anyone else on the team, I have like either like a 4 month program, a 6 month program, or a 12 month program. It's set up the exact same way. If someone joins for 4 months, someone joins for 12 months, they'll still be doing the same thing on a monthly basis. It just goes for a longer time frame.
Mm.
That's all. Let's say in terms of sessions they do per week or classes, that kind of
Mm.
thing. The reason why I do the time frames is because um, it gives someone something kind of easy to aim for, because a lot of people are scared by bigger goals. Like if I said to you, okay, we're going to work on something for a year, a lot of
Mm.
people might be like, oh, that's a long time. Like, I don't know if I can,
Commit to
like,
that, yeah.
yeah, like I don't know what's happening in a year. But if
Mm.
I say to someone like, okay, let's set this goal for 4 months, that's only, what's it now? It's March now. So that's only April, May, June. That's only in July. They're like, oh yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
That's manageable,
Yeah.
Mm.
So if someone is more interested in, let's say, working for the next 4 months, then when we get towards the end of the 4 month program, then we can sit down for 30 minutes and kind of recap and be like, okay, well, what would you like to focus on for the next 4 months, And
Yeah.
so a lot of people do end up then continuing for, another 6 or 12 months or whatever after the initial
Mm.
period.
Mm.
Mm.
That's
I
brilliant.
just one last question. Just on social media, you say you've someone doing that for you, or do you do that yourself, or how do you manage that?
Yeah, so I basically have like a social media manager that she helps me with everything. So
Okay.
because you eventually like gets I just got to the point where I didn't have enough time in the day to do all the social media stuff, like, it's simple stuff, but it still takes a lot of time. Like
Oh, yeah.
for a podcast, like I'd need to record the podcast and then I need to upload it from Zoom
Ooh.
to YouTube. Um, then I'd have to, get all the timings for it. Then I use a thing called Opus Clip, which will clip it into shorts and then have to
Yeah.
upload. It all takes a lot of time.
Mm.
So my social media manager does about like 10 hours a week. So she's part-time, but is enough to help get everything up there across LinkedIn and Instagram and
Right.
places.
That's
Brilliant.
10 hours you've got back. That's huge. Full day.
Mm.
Well, nearly a day for you, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's
And
a lot of hours. Yeah.
basically just put that time back into um, higher level activities, which would be, finding clients, basically,
Mm.
Yeah.
and to grow the business that way. So
What's
That's
the
class.
future for Coach Elan? What's the North Star? Where are we? Where are you now? Where do you hope to be? And
that's a great
what are you
question. Who
what are you
knows?
thinking? Ah, it's top secret.
I know. Yeah, to be honest, like I try and just take it day by day. Obviously, I've set goals for the long term, of course.
Yeah.
I try and stay present as much as I can. I always get a bit anxious, if I'm thinking about how much I need to do over the next few months or years or whatever. So I think the goal is just to continue enjoying what I'm doing. Ideally I'd like to continue to scale up, build a team that I have, secure more clients so that they have, a stable income and
Mm,
to help and serve more women with their goals and, help everyone feel great. And then on a personal level, I have a lot of stuff on the bucket list I haven't done yet. Love to go to New York in June for the.
Oh, me too.
Are you? Very
In
nice.
2 weeks, yeah. When are you going?
June. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
like 3 months ago. But yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff on the bucket list I want to do. I've never been to the US, haven't been to Thailand,
Same.
haven't been to Australia, New Zealand. So a lot of travel kind of goals, that I'd like to take off
Brilliant.
for sure.
Same as, yeah. And just
Fancy,
one
Elan.
last thing,
Mm.
just as you're kind of like a nomad, you worked in Spain and you worked in Italy, I think, a little bit as well. Did you find that experience good or?
Yeah, learning curve,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think the main thing I learned about myself is that I do a lot better if I have some sense of community or from I'm with other people. So like I went to Barcelona and
Right.
so I was there for like 3 months.
Yep.
And it was amazing, like had a great time, but I just noticed I was living there by myself and my girlfriend was
Mm,
still living in Ireland. So
yeah.
definitely the loneliness aspect came into it big time.
Mm, mm,
Um, so that was the downside. On the plus side, though, I did go there kind of as a fresh start to really focus on like scaling and growing the business as much as possible, and
Yeah.
it worked, which is great. But the downside of it was, it's hard to be by yourself all the time. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I went to Sicily then after that, lived in Palermo for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Um, but then I got to the point where I was like, yeah, I need to be with my girlfriend more, so I came back to Ireland
Mm,
and moved in with
fair
her.
play.
So
Is she from Tipperary
yeah,
herself? Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Not going to
Very
stay
good.
here forever, but we'll move somewhere uh in Europe over the next kind of she's finishing a master's in like a year and a half, so we're going to move after that.
Okay. Not
Brilliant.
back to Mullingar, no?
Here and there just to catch up with
You
my
never know.
family.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Impressive, Elan. It's a cool journey you've been on, and I've got a lot from
Yeah.
this chat, and hopefully be
You're
able to
still
implement
young,
some of
yeah.
it. Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Long, long way to go.
Yeah, no, it's cool for me being able to catch up with you as well because
Mm.
um obviously playing golf when we were younger and then
Yeah.
definitely splitting off in our own journeys
Yeah.
and
Mm.
both of you now are PGA coaches, which is what I was originally thinking of doing,
Mm.
but then obviously not.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
cool, and yeah, it'd be great to maybe get some more podcasts in future, and we can talk about other stuff.
Mm. Mm.
Brilliant. Delighted
There's
to, Elan.
a lot to learn from each other. Yeah. Lots.
Awesome. Good
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah,
Enjoyed
Interesting.
the chat.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.